Alright, so in this video, I'm just going to really quickly review annotations inside of AutoCAD, so dimensions and leaders and text styles, how to set them up from scratch, and how to place them inside the drawings correctly. I know that annotations are a bit confusing, so hopefully this video will clear it up for everybody a little bit better. Okay, so I just copied my drawings into a blank file so that I can show you everything from scratch. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm assuming on your end you already have this set correctly, I'm going to go to my units, type units, and you want to make sure that your units are set up to architectural instead of decimal. A lot of the times when you just create a new drawing from scratch, it'll put on decimal, and you want to change that because it'll mess a lot of things up. So make sure you're set to architectural and click OK. Secondly, we're going to set up an annotative text style because we're going to need that for when we go in and set our dimensions. Okay, so what I want to do is use my styles command and style, not styles. That's going to take me to my style manager. So what you want to do, the most important thing here, click on your standard style and just leave it as standard, because that's going to make your life a little bit easier going forward whenever we make our dimension and leader styles. And just toggle on annotative, and then over here under paper text height, type in 3/32 of an inch. Okay, and then it'll change that to 1/8. Just leave it as it is, and then click on close. Okay, with that done, the next thing we're going to do is set up our annotative dimension style. So we're going to type in dim styles. If you just type in dims, D-I-M-S, and then hit enter, that'll take you to the same screen. I have this one that's already set as annotative. I'm going to delete that out, and then I will just start from scratch like the rest of you. Here I'm going to rename my standard style, and I'm going to make that annotative, and then hit enter. Okay, with that set, go ahead and click on modify. That'll bring up our modify window. Underneath of text, we're going to leave that as standard. Remember, that's the text style that we just modified, so our text height should be correct by default. I'm going to go down here to where it says text alignment. I'm going to change that to aligned with dimension line, and then under text placement, I'm going to switch vertical from centered to above. All right, so next I'm going to go over here to my fit tab. This is the most important section in this window. Scale for dimension features, set that to annotative. That's what makes this work correctly. Over here under text placement, set that to over dimension line with leader. And then the rest of this should be fine. Underneath of primary units, set that from unit format, set that from decimal to architectural. Okay, so now you can see that we're getting inches instead of our default decimal numbers. Underneath of symbols and arrows, change the arrowheads from close filled to architectural tick. That'll give us our ticks like we want. Change the arrowhead size from 3/16 of an inch to 3/32 of an inch. Hit enter. Okay, and then the last thing we need to do is go over here to lines, and we're going to change our extend beyond dim lines setting from 3/16 to 3/32. Okay, so now everything should be set how we want it. And then when that's done, go ahead and click on OK, and then click on close. Okay, so that's it for our dimensions. Next, we're going to set up our leaders correctly. So I'm going to type in M leader style, hit enter. That's going to take me to my leader setup. I'll delete out my annotative one. Now, for some reason, underneath of the leader styles, you can't rename the standard. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to create a new one that is called annotative. All right, and then I'll click continue. Okay, within this, text style should be set to standard, and then we want to change under leader format, we want to change the arrowhead size to 3/32 of an inch. Okay, that should be all we need to do to this. Then once you're done, go ahead and just click on OK, and that should be good. Oh, actually, one more thing. Leader structure. So under leader structure, you want to set the scale there to annotative. Okay, set that to annotative, and then there we go. If you did it right, you'll get the blue little scale symbol next to it. Okay, so now we're good. So go ahead and click on close. All right, so with that done, we can now go ahead and start placing dimensions in. And if you remember, whenever we're using annotative dimension styles, we control the size and scale of the text and the dimension features using our annotation scale here at the bottom. So the first thing I want to do is start adding in some dimensions for my floor plan. So what I'm going to do is come down here, and since I know that that floor plan is going to be shown on the sheet at a 1/4 inch scale, I'm going to set that to be a 1/4 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches down here in my annotation scale. So go ahead and click on that. The next thing you want to do is underneath of your annotate tab, make sure that the current style is set to annotative, and if that's the only one that's in the project, it should be by default. Then you can click on linear to start a new linear dimension string. So I'm going to click on linear, and then I'm going to add my first dimension here from this point to this point. You want to make sure also before you start adding in dimensions that you have the appropriate snaps turned on. So go ahead down here in your O snaps, make sure that you have endpoint turned on and midpoint. Okay, so with that out of the way, you can place your first point here at the bottom left, and then your second point here at the top left, and then your third point you drag out, and then you click one more time to finish the dimension. All right. So then I can start adding in my dimension string here along the top. So I'm going to do my minor dimension string that will run from this corner to the center of the window to this side of the wall and then to this corner. So if I hit enter to repeat the last command, I'm going to start placing my first dimension. So I'll click on here, and then I will click on the middle of this window. I will drag straight up, and I will click one more time to finish that. All right, so something I think I forgot to mention in the previous lecture is whenever you place your dimensions and you're using linear dimensions are nice because they allow you to select any point even if they're not in the same plane. So you can see that this first point is obviously higher than the midpoint I clicked here. That keeps the dimension perfectly straight, but you can see that there's a bit of a difference in the gap between the dimension string here and here. Sometimes that's severe enough to where it will overlap with your drawing and it will just make it read bad. You always want to have like a little bit of a gap within there. So what I do is after I place my dimension, I select the dimension, and then I will take this grip down here on the endpoint, and I will click on that once, and I will drag it straight up until it snaps with my perpendicular snap to the face of the wall. And now you can see that my spacing here is consistent with my spacing here. All right, so with that done, we can type the command DCO, so that stands for dim continue, and that's going to continue our previous dimension string. So my next point is going to be right here at this corner, and my final point will be right here at the end. Now with that done, I'll click on enter to end, and then I can go in here and select both of these dimensions, click on my little point here, drag that up so that I get nice consistent spacing between all of my dimensions against this wall. All right, then obviously I would go back in, do a new linear dimension, add in my major dimension, my overall dimension that runs along the top, and that is what we want. All right, so with that done, obviously you're going to go ahead and you're going to continue and add in the rest of the dimensions that are required. Now with the elevation drawing, you want to go in and obviously at this point change your scale to be 1/2 of an inch because we're showing our elevation at a slightly larger scale. All right, so with that set, 1/2 of an inch, go ahead and do the same exact process. Set your linear dimension, and then you can start placing your dimensions. Okay, and then I can go in and repeat that command and then start adding in my dimensions for my counters. DCO to continue. Then I can place that one there, and I can place one here for the soffit, and then my final dimension here. All right, and then one more dimension over here on the right side to top of my counter. All right, so that's essentially what we're looking for. And you can see, since we use the annotative dimensions, the dimensions scaled automatically whenever we switch the scale down here. So our text height and our tick marks and everything, they all scaled automatically for us just by setting this setting down here. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to add in our annotative, or our leader right here for our backsplash. So go ahead, make sure annotative is set for your current leader style, and then click on the multi-leader button. Go ahead and place your arrowhead of your leader somewhere on the wall here. Drag out to the right. I like to have ortho turned off for this because it lets you place this at an angle. And then your second click is going to be the endpoint of that elbow. Then you can go ahead and type in your text. So I will type in 2" by 4" tile. And then I will click on Close Text Editor to end that. So there you go. That is essentially what you're looking for. Everything should be set at the correct scale now. Hopefully that clears things up for you guys, but that's it for this video.